Good evening. Indian Medical College welcomes you all to this online class. Dear viewers, in today's session, we have Dr. D.V. Satyamurthy G, Associate Professor from Katturi Medical College and Hospital, Guntur, Andhra Pradesh with us. He is having plenty of teaching and practical experience behind him. He'll be taking a class on blotting techniques from biochemistry today. Good evening and welcome, sir. It's an immense pleasure to have you here with us, sir.
Good evening, Ilangovan. Thank you for the induction. And coming to the session, we'll have that session on blotting techniques. As per the MCI competency table for the first year UG curriculum, new curriculum design, it is biochemistry 7.4. The competency is 7.4, including molecular biology and everything. In that, it's a blotting techniques is a small part. So coming to the session proper, the specific learning objectives of this session would be you can be able to define and classify the blotting techniques by the end of the session, and you can be able to explain the steps in various blotting techniques and the differentiate between different blotting techniques, and finally describe their application in actual diagnosis and treatment of disease. This is what the session is going to happen on, and we'll start with the definition. One of the cornerstones of modern molecular biology, blotting is a powerful and sensitive technique for identifying the presence of specific biomolecule within a sample. The blotting technique, actually what it does is it will actually help you to find out whether a biomolecule, let be DNA or RNA or a protein of your choice. So you know the identity of the molecule, so you want to tell whether the DNA, RNA or protein is present in the sample given to you or not. Then you need a blotting technique. You match the match the match the two samples, or the known sample with an unknown sample, and identify whether the molecule of interest is present in your sample or not. It's more of identification than quantification. It is like qualitative analysis technique where you can identify whether it is present or not. Okay. So coming to the types of blotting techniques, as my professor told me this mnemonic, best thing to remember the types of blotting techniques. Snowdrop is a mnemonic where S stands for southern blotting, standing for DNA identification. Northern, N for northern blotting, standing for RNA identification. O is common in both ways. You can strike it off. And Western blotting technique is for protein identification. Apart from this, some books give you a different blotting techniques also, like Eastern blotting technique, Southwestern blotting technique, but those are actually subtypes of Western blotting techniques where the protein modifications are being studied in those two types of blotting techniques, Eastern and Southeastern. And apart from this, immunoblotting and electroblotting are synonyms for the Western blotting. So the knowing clearly about Southern, Northern and Western would be more than enough for as per your curriculum. So coming to the basic features of three blotting techniques, kept in nutshell, because I wanted to give it in a nutshell first before I discuss it in detail, because these are the things we have to remember when you are writing an exam. Okay, for first thing, which is a target molecule for Southern, Northern and Western. Target molecule is being in DNA, Northern RNA and Western is protein. And sample preparation, here you have to see a difference in sample preparation between DNA, between Southern, Northern and Western. It is, we are digesting the DNA and we are not digesting the protein. We are not digesting the protein and RNA, and DNA digested using restriction endonucleases. Very specifically, we should use the same restriction endonuclease when you are matching two samples. Okay, so apart from that, remaining everything goes alike except for the use of a polyvinyl difluoride paper for Western blot, and nylon or nitrocellulose paper for northern and southern blotting. And coming to the probes, what we use for DNA, you use a complementary DNA probe. For RNA, you can use both complementary DNA or an RNA probe, which is radio labeled. But in Western blot, where you are identifying a protein, you are going to use a protein, use an antibody for the known protein what you have, your protein of interest, what we want to find out. Okay. Apart from that, detection methods, it can be X-ray film. Most common is X-ray film. You can use a chemiluminescence also. You can use any advanced like infrared imaging in the as of the technology is developing. Okay. So these are the major differences which you have to keep in mind when you are writing a question on blotting techniques. You have, okay. So next, coming to the next step, what are the different support media which you use in a blotting technique? Because I want to first finish general aspects of all the three things, and then we'll discuss in specific about all the other things, all the specific properties of each blotting technique. Okay. So coming to support media, we use the most commonly used paper in blotting technique is nitrocellulose paper. Apart from that, we can use nylon sheets, you can use polyvinyl difluoride membrane, which I have told you, and glass fiber also. Some glass fibers also you can use, and you can also use a different technique, different materials depending on the biomolecule which you are trying to find out. Okay. So these are different molecule with different support medium which you can use on the blotting paper, like a blotting paper. Okay. Yes. Coming to the southern blotting proper. The southern blotting proper is the first blotting technique which was developed by E.M. Southern. On his name only the technique got its name. Here, the DNA fragment containing a specific sequence is identified by electrophoresis, transferring them onto cellulose paper, and then hybridizing with 32 phosphorus labeled single-stranded DNA probe complemented to the sequence. So here you know what you are looking for. Remember, in a blotting technique, we are not going to find out what we don't know. We are finding out what we know, whether it is present in the sample or not. The fragment containing sequence is then visualized by radiograph. This is the technique total in nutshell. Now we'll go in detail. The first thing what we do is the DNA sample is digested using a restriction enzyme, and the sample is electrophorized forest. Okay, to separate based on the sizes. The DNA bands in the gel on which we have done electrophoresis are denatured into single strands by using a alkali solution. Okay, subsequently, this gel is laid on top of a buffer saturated with buffer saturated filter paper placed on a solid support with its two edges immersed in the buffer. Don't worry, I'll show you how. I have a diagram of showing how it is happening. So these are the different steps what is happening in the southern blotting process. First, we separate the DNA, and first we digest the DNA using restriction enzymes, and then we electrophorese it, and we denature it into single strands with the help of alkali solution. Now we have the buffering. After that, blotting process is taking place. Now, a sheet of nitrocellulose filter membrane is placed on the top of the gel, a stack of many papers on top of this membrane. Like you have to create a capillary action from the downwards to upwards to pull up the buffer. I'll show you the diagram as how it goes on. This is the basic blotting process. If you want to understand the blotting technique, you have to likely go through this diagram very importantly, because this is the schematic diagram showing you how the movement of the movement of buffer occurs through the gel, and finally it is put on the nitrocellulose paper. If you see here, the DNA binding filter paper. Let me show that. So this is the buffer in the tank. After that, you have a porous structure like wing or wick or sponge. Then you put this DNA gel on which you have done the electrophoresis. You have put the DNA in one, two, three samples, and you have done the electrophoresis, which have given you different bands of DNA. And this gel you are putting in a submerged electrophoresis where you put the sponge below, and on that you put the gel. On that you put the DNA binding filter or the nitrocellulose paper, whatever it is. You put on the paper. On that you put number of paper towels and weight. So that what happens is this buffer will move along this gradient to the top, but what happens, the DNA binding filter paper nitrocellulose paper which is there in the middle, it will not allow DNA to go through and through. It will stop DNA from growing, and there is the point where it binds to the filter paper, okay, or nitrocellulose paper. Now, the nitrocellulose membrane with DNA strands is blotted onto it. It is baked at 80 degrees centigrade for 2 to 3 hours to fix DNA permanently on the membrane. It doesn't allow it to go away, and we fix it by incubating it at 80 degrees. Okay. DNA fragments on the membrane can then be probed for sequence of interest by hybridizing between them. Now what we do, you just wash away the unbound DNA, and then you see the X-ray film. Here what happens is, in between these two things, there is hybridization. You use a complementary DNA probe, which is radio labeled with phosphorus, 32 phosphorus. That 32 phosphorus labeled DNA is complementarily binding to the DNA fragments on the membrane, and then it is washed off for the unbound DNA. Finally, the X-ray film is exposed to the membrane to get the autoradiograph. This is the process of southern blotting membrane, and here you see the picture of it. First, initially, you have a DNA of interest. On this, you want the gene of interest, and this is the gene of interest what you want to identify, and it is there. We are assuming it is there in this. Okay, so it is now broken down by using restriction endonucleases, and these fragments are put on a agarose gel where we do electrophoresis, smaller to larger. They will be arranged. On this, you put a third step 3 blotting technique. You put a sponge and gel in the same order, where you put the paper on the top and under the sponge, under the paper towels, so that it is absorbing. And finally, your the filter is exposed. The filter paper is exposed to radioactively labeled specific gene, probed specific gene. Then the film is developed. These are the different steps of southern blotting process. Okay, I think it is clear now, because each step you have to understand properly, and better you try to draw a diagram in the examination. And coming to the, if you want to, this is diagram taken from Lippincott, a more illustrative diagram, where you want to find out whether these two persons are having the common gene or not. So you take a DNA from them, extract the DNA from leukocytes, you cleave the DNA with the same enzyme, and put on a electrophoresis gel, denature it with denature it, and then transfer to a membrane, hybridize it to the labels, and finally you find the person A1 is having two genes, and C is having 2 is having only one gene. So this is the, finally you know this, the number of genes present, the gene of interest is present in person A1 or person 2. You know they are matching or not. Okay, so that is the southern blotting process in nutshell. Now coming to the northern blotting process. Initially, southern blotting process, the northern blotting process for RNA was tried with southern blotting process also, but it was not successful because the RNA did not bind to the cellulose membrane. So what happened? Alvin, Kemp, and Stark, they developed a procedure to blot the transfer of RNA. They used a chemical reactive paper, diazotization of amino benzyl oxymethyl paper. This is like a modified Whatman paper. Okay, it's a modified Whatman paper where they are diazotized. It is impregnated with a chemical called diazotized amino benzyl oxymethyl paper. That is a chemically treated paper which is going to stop the RNA from going through and through. Okay, and these are separated by, basically here what the difference between southern and northern blotting in the first step is there is no electrophoresis. There is no enzymatic digestion. Why? Because RNA molecules are small. Because DNA is very large, you cannot deal with the very large molecules. You are subjecting it to restriction endonuclease breakage. But here in RNA, you are not going to use any restriction enzymes. Here you are directly putting the RNA species on agarose gel for electrophoresis, and then separated or blotted chemically on reactive filter paper, hybridized with complementary DNA probe or a RNA probe, then autoradiography is carried out. Okay, the subtle differences you have to be able to note. You have to be able to understand the subtle differences. Why? Because that is the point where examiner looks at. Okay, he'll look at whether this person have identified the difference between southern and northern blotting or not. Okay, you are using a chemically reactive paper, and you are not using restriction enzymes in northern blotting. Okay, and finally it can be cDNA probe or an RNA probe. Okay, now coming to the differences, I just in this diagram I just want to show the difference between southern and northern blotting techniques. It's it's DNA, not it's RNA, not DNA, and you are not cleaving with restriction endonucleases. And in place of the alkaline solution in the trough using for southern blotting, you are using a salt solution, and RNA from gel to nitrocellulose, and that is probed with cDNA or something like that. Okay, so it reveals mRNA size, approximate protein size, tissue, and organ specific expression. Because if you want to see the mRNA, microRNA expression in specific tissue, for example, I say liver cell expresses this microRNA and not the pancreatic cell. So I take a liver tissue, and then you try to find out whether that microRNA is present in liver tissue or not. Okay. Next, coming to the next process, Western blotting. That this technique is used to detect a protein rather than DNA or RNA. Okay, and for example, if you want to have a you have to synthesize a protein specially from a cell, you try to insert a gene by genetic engineering, and you want to find out whether the cell have given the protein or not. Then you go for Western blotting technique. Okay, and the translated product it should be identified by this technique, and it also can be used to identify the proteins of specificity. For example, HIV is expressing some GP42, GP24 like that, and HBV is also expressing some proteins. These proteins, whether they are present in their antibodies are present in the blood or not, can be identified by using a Western blotting technique. Okay. So first what we do is here isolation of protein and extract the protein. These the electrophoresis here is SDS page. Sorry for the mistake here. It is a SDS page. So sodium dodecyl sulfate page where the protein is the structure of protein is mildly altered. The tertiary structure is taken off and the SDS page is subjected and they will be separated onto a gel PAG polyacrylate gel electrophoresis. After that these polyacrylate gel electrophoresis, the electrophorized proteins, they are transferred to a polyvinyl difluoride membrane by electrophoretic fractionation. Here, this is the difference here. In the blottings, other blottings, what we do is we use a capillary action for absorption of DNA or RNA, either in southern blotting or northern blotting. But here you use a PVDF membrane where it can be electrophoretically fractionated from the gel and attach it to the PVDF membrane. Then a radio labeled specific antibody is added onto such membrane and it binds specifically to the complementary protein. And in some techniques, if we can use iodine, we can use either iodine and we can use an autoradiography, but for we can also have other technique because it is a protein. We can label a secondary antibody. We can label a secondary antibody to the first primary antibody, where the secondary antibody can be tagged with a horseradish peroxidase, an enzyme which can give you chemiluminescence on action by a substrate. So what we do, we can alternatively we can use a radioactive labeled iodine, or you go for a secondary antibody, like as it's almost similar to ELISA technique, enzyme lignosorbent assay, where the secondary antibody is tagged with a horseradish peroxidase. That enzyme afterwards it is washed off. The unbound enzyme is washed off, and then you add a substrate which gives you a color that is measured by using chemiluminescence assay. Okay, so that can be an alternative to use a autoradiography in this process alone. Okay, and this is the schematic representation of Western blotting told in a nutshell. Okay, first what you do is you load a separate protein samples on SDS page, and after that, after they are separated in the SDS page, what we do is we transfer the protein electrophoretically onto a PVDF membrane, which can be processed in the further processing. In the next process, we neutralize the protein by using BSA or milk casein, and then we add the primary antibody to the target protein. Okay, this is what I have told you. This can be done easy. This is a bit easier than, more specific than the autoradiography in case of a protein. So after that, this primary antibody is subjected to is incubated with secondary antibody, which is labeled with a horseradish peroxidase. This is the star mark what you see here. It's a exemplification of horseradish peroxidase. After that, this can be added to the substrate can be added here, and that whatever signal coming can be recorded onto a chemiluminescent film. Okay, chemiluminescent film, X-ray film, which is exposed to chemiluminescence. So this is what taken by Western blotting. The major difference between Western, Northern, and Southern blotting comes here, because here we are using a antibody rather than a complementary probe, RNA or DNA probe. We are using a antibody, and in some cases we can go for a secondary antibody which is enzyme marked, enzyme linked, and that can be used as a chemiluminescent emission estimation. Okay, and this is a HIV seroconverter Western blot reactivity report, where you can see here, this is a normal control, this is a normal patient without any proteins, and this is a positive control, negative control and positive control most oftenly. And here you can see the patient serum, which is having almost, because we have 1 2 3 4 almost 7 proteins labeled here, And among this, these two patients are having highest number of proteins, and these three are having less number of proteins. So we can this Western blot technique is the diagnostic test for HIV patients. Okay, though they do ELISA, it's not a confirmatory test. Tridot is not a confirmatory. You have to confirm it with the Western blot technique. Now coming to the other technique, dot blot technique. Dot blot technique, this technique is used to detect the presence of a given sequence in the non-fractionated DNA sample. Here, the most important difference in dot blot technique and other blot techniques is it is not going to fractionate or subject to electrophoresis. It can test many samples in a single test, and it's a simplification of northern, southern, and western blot methods. In dot blot method, they can be detected directly without separation by electrophoresis. How it is happening? Instead, a mixture containing the molecule to be detected is applied directly on a membrane as a dot. Then is spotted through circular templates direct onto membrane or paper substrate. Then it is followed by, and you blot on the filter paper, then you spot it, and you take that picture onto a blotting paper. Then you can go for detection by using probes or antibodies directly. Okay, you are using very specifically, you want to know whether whatever you are searching for is there or not. So you use those complementary DNA or RNA or those antibodies only. So if it is there, it is binding. If it is not there, it's not binding. Okay, so it makes the process easy, and the cumbersome process of separation, fragmentation, and all, it can be avoided. Okay, so several samples are brought in single paper. The DNA is for denatured and the filter is baked as we do in the blotting technique, and then it is treated with the radioactive signal standard probe under the condition favoring hybridization. The filter is washed to remove the unhybridized probes. Then you go for the filter is washed off to remove any unhybridized probes. Here you have to understand the difference. We are not going for the separation or extraction techniques in this dot plot. We are just dotting it on a paper, and we are putting extracting it onto a nitrocellulose paper. Then we are blotting it on single filter paper, then denaturing the DNA, then treating with the complementary DNA probe. If it is a protein, you go for an antibody. Okay, so the filter is washed to remove the unhybridized probes afterwards, and these dots are now hybridized to detect the hybridized probes are detected by using autoradiography. Okay, it has been used in chlamydia trachomatis infection, and also it has been used to detect antibodies for typhoid and tuberculosis fever also in initial stages, but now it is not used into to that frequency, because we have got more sensitive and specific techniques for detection of these proteins. Okay, so these are the different blotting techniques: southern blotting, northern blotting, western blotting, and dot blot technique. And immunoblotting, electroblotting are similar techniques to western blotting. Okay, they are there. The use of antibody makes it immunoblotting. Okay, it is a different name given for western blotting only. Okay, and coming to this is the dot plot technique, where you see the dots and the uh, specific sample. Okay, and applications of blotting techniques, this you have to understand clearly to know what is actually it is used for. Okay, now study of mutation of and gene rearrangement. You know some genes by the Human Genome Project. We already know some genes are there, whether the genes are properly present or not. If you want to know a mutation, whether the mutated gene is present or not, then you go for a blotting technique. Diagnose neonatal disease before the child is born, you can go for a prenatal diagnosis of neonatal disease. And phylogenetic studies, paternity and maternity analysis. As I told you, you can match the two DNA samples. And forensic studies and person identification. By studying the structure of a gene or to elucidate restriction enzymes, you have to, the RFLP sites you can easily diagnose, find out using a, actually the RFLP was first found out in the southern blotting technique only, and it was discovered by the RFLP, restriction fragment length polymorphisms, was first demonstrated in southern blotting only. And northern blotting can be used to estimate the RNA quantitatively by hybridization, study RNA degradation, RNA half-life, and also RNA splicing. Okay, and then apart from this, it is also useful in studying the gene expression. And finally, come to the western blot. It's a confirmatory HIV test employs a Western blot to detect anti-HIV antibody in human serum sample. Western blot is also used as a definitive test for bovine spongiform encephalopathy, as referred as mad cow disease. These are the different applications of blotting techniques. And finally, we'll look at the hepatitis B infection also is confirmed by using a Western blot test. And any technique is not foolproof. You have to know the limitation of technique also when you're going to molecular biology laboratories, and this has its own limitations. It is more time and labor intensive than newer techniques, and probably a bit less sensitive unless you are following strict protocols as per the criteria laid down. Specificity can be altered by technique and reagents because it's subjective, because the extraction technique or the electrophoresis technique, whatever you are doing, it may be differing subjectively basing on the person doing it, subjective. And determination of the quantity of molecules, it's not, as I told you, it's not quantification, it's only qualitative. Was it present or not, only we can tell, we cannot tell how much is present. And in case of Western blotting, we are losing the tertiary structure of protein, which can miss some changes in the epitopes in a Western blot technique. So these are the limitations of Western blotting technique, and that's the end of the session. And these are the references from which I have taken the material which have been presented in the slides. Okay. Thank you. Session is open for any doubts.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful session today, sir. Dear viewers, if you have any doubts or need any clarification, you can please type them in the comment section below, and your queries will be clarified by him later on. Thank you, sir. Thank you, dear viewers.
Balaji? Hello.